All right, joining me to talk about this is DeWitt Lacy. He is a civil rights attorney and a former criminal defense attorney. And we know, DeWitt, that the defense was fighting hard to keep this charge out. As a defense attorney, why would they have wanted this charge out?
Because, Michael, I think it is a little easier to prove. Now, the second-degree murder charge carries with it intent. So not only do they have to show causation, that the actions of Chauvin actually caused the death of Floyd, which are already in question, right? We got the fentanyl and the questions about intoxication and whether or not that was actually the cause of the death. But under the second-degree murder, they have to show intent, that he intended to cause the death. Now, in the third degree, you don't have to show the intent. You only have to show the causation, right? And that the actions were so reckless as to disregard the risk to human life. So that's why the defense really did not want this to be a part of it. The intent was a much higher burden for the prosecution to meet. And without that, it really doesn't look good for the defense.
Now, with that charge allowed in today, the judge did make aspersions that he would allow for some sort of break for them to prepare, the defense to prepare. They didn't make that motion today. Don't know if they'll make it on Monday when they resume with motions. But is it that much of a change or that much of an addition to this case that you would think maybe a stay and a short opportunity to prepare for this would be necessary?
I think so, from the defense perspective. And part of that is because who you're going to pick to be on that jury really is determined by what the charges are going to be and some of the attitudes that have been expressed. Look, if some of the folks have expressed an attitude that, look, there has to be some type of really direct intent from the defendant in order for them to get a conviction, then yeah, sure, they might be on the jury. If the third degree murder is in there, then that changes the calculation a little bit.
Now, from the state's perspective, my question is, are they creating a built-in compromise for this jury? Or would they have been better off just to leave this off and really focus on that second-degree murder charge with the felony murder type situation and let them really focus on that as opposed to give them this opportunity to perhaps compromise? Or do you think it was a good strategy by the state?
I think, look, of course, Michael, we're not privy to all the evidence that the prosecution is privy to. So they saw something which made them think it necessary to bring in the third degree charge. And, maybe it's because they viewed, there was going to be some problem with the intent. I would imagine that's what it is, right? I don't think it was a bad idea to bring the third degree charge in for the prosecution. I think it makes their job a little, I don't want to say easier, but more likely that they'll be able to convict.
You know, what's interesting, this defendant, he had agreed to a plea deal, and it was to third-degree murder. He was going to take 10 years, okay? So let's keep that in mind as I ask you this question. So let's say he is ultimately convicted of the third-degree murder, and this judge is sitting on the bench. He's aware of what happened, that the AG of the United States said 10 years wasn't enough. Do you think that goes into his calculation of how many years he should get when we're talking about a range between 10 and 25?
I think so, especially given the deference that he's given to the appellate court. Now, of course, the United States Department of Justice is different than the appellate court that actually has, authority over the decisions and instructions to Judge Cahill. But I think he will pay attention to, the Department of Justice and what they believe is an appropriate sentence. And also keep in mind, initially, Noor was sentenced to 12 and a half years. So maybe 10 years might be too little in the judge's mind. We'll have to see.
Yeah, that's going to be something we're going to be watching very, very closely. All right, thank you so much, DeWitt Lacy. I really appreciate you joining us on the show tonight. Always great to have you.
Thanks, Michael. I love being here.
All right, have a great evening.